Congratulations, Civic Center, on your 30th anniversary. As a local state legislator and a lifelong Peorian, as someone who's also 31 years old, I don't know a Peoria without a Civic Center. So to me, Peoria and the Civic Center are unquestionably synonymous with one another, and it's just a blessing to have the ability to be a part of the state legislature and now work closely with the folks who keep this fantastic facility open. And it's a great honor and a privilege to be able to wish you a happy 30th anniversary today.
I remember August 31st, 1976 as if it were last night. And after 6 Civic Center plans, finally with the vote of the Peoria City Council that night, the Civic Center became real. It's difficult to imagine it's already been 30 years, but there's no question in my mind, nor those in our community, that the best is yet to come.
Well, I remember when the Civic Center discussion came up, and all of a sudden City Council courageously voted on it, and we saw some of the buildings coming down and then the big hole in the ground. It was fascinating watching the construction because you tried to imagine where everything was at. I even remember what the very first act was when the Civic Center opened. It was Kenny Rogers, and I don't know how I remember that, but just a piece of trivia.
Well, some of my very favorite moments spent here have been at the high school basketball tournament championships every year. I gotta tell you, I've had so much fun inviting colleagues from the General Assembly here throughout the years who come to this Civic Center and are just knocked out by the quality of the center and by the hospitality and by the whole experience here.
Well, I've had many favorite moments at the Civic Center. I mean, it's just been a wealth of entertainment and recreation. I suppose in a personal sense, one of my fondest memories is watching my oldest daughter actually participate in roller derby. And we took the whole family down, grandkids and everything, and watched daughter Kate as she skated around the circle.
I would say my favorite memory of the Civic Center, it's fleeting. Unquestionably, my most exciting memory at the Civic Center was about 2 years ago. My husband led the Manual High School basketball team to the state championship game. It wasn't my favorite memory because they came up short. They won second that year, but unquestionably it felt like an election day. It was the most exciting experience that I've ever had at the Civic Center, and I look forward to doing it again.
Frank, thanks to Frank Blaine for putting that together right at the last moment. Welcome everyone to our 30th anniversary of the Peoria Civic Center. You're only 31? Wow, I feel old. My name is Jim Wetherington. For those of you that don't know me, I am the general manager of the Peoria Civic Center. Please don't stop enjoying the food. Everyone has commented that it's wonderful. Chef Eddie is new to us today. So we thank Chef Eddie and his entire staff for a wonderful meal and some great hors d'oeuvres and cocktails to go with. So thank you, Eddie, and your staff. Well, tonight we're going to share some memories, talk about some of the things from the past, and share some hopes for the future. The Peoria Civic Center is a remarkable community vision that dates back over 50 years. Our leaders saw the benefit to create a versatile complex, not just a building. The result is a community jewel. Over the years, our board of directors has worked with us to help us maintain the facility in a way that keeps us current with the industry. Literally thousands of people have been through the doors, hundreds of thousands of events and people, millions of people actually, and they've come through the doors to be not only entertained, but also educated, and to do a lot of business. A large majority of our business kind of goes unseen with the conventions. There's so much business that happens here, and the dollars that come into the community through the folks that are staying in town and enjoying our community is something that just doesn't really get a lot of attention, but that's a huge part of who we are, and I hope you folks realize that. I'd like to welcome Dan Silverthorne, our board chair, to introduce our members of the board that are here, both present and past members. Dan?
Thank you, Jim. And on behalf of the commissioners, I would also like to welcome all of you here this evening and thank you for spending a little time in what I think is a very, very great moment for this facility. The first past chairs that I'm going to mention will be speakers later on, and we also have some current members. And if you just please would stand and everybody hold their applause until we're done. Dave Ransberg, Dan Daly, Rebecca Borland, Peter Corey, and current or past board members. We have Pat Raisler, Ken Golden, Mary Ardapple, and Leonard Eunice. So please give them applause for all the dedication and the hard work that they've done here with the Civic Center.
Thank you, Dan. I'd also like to recognize some of our legislature that's in the House, David Leach, David Kaler, Jahan Gordon Booth, and also our own Mayor, Jim Artis. Thank you for being here. One of the big thank yous that we need to send out is to our tenants, the Rivermen, the IHSA, the Peoria Ballet that still is here for the Nutcracker every year, the Peoria Symphony, which is a huge part of who we do and helped us open our Broadway series just recently, and Bradley University for their tremendous support through the basketball and many, many other events. A big thank you to the rest of our clients. Several of you are here. Thank you for coming. And a thank you very much to our friends and our families that put up with us for being here so many hours sometimes. So thank you all for being here. Mr. Mayor, would you like to come up and say a few words, please?
Well, thanks, Jim. Walking around and reading some of the articles and seeing some of these cool pictures and the demolition and everything else, it's kind of hard to believe that it was 30 years ago. But I think probably the one thing that strikes me as we reflect on 30 years is just how important it is for leaders to make difficult decisions. With the grief that we many times take for making those tough decisions, we wouldn't realize that we'd ever come to where we are today without the difficult decisions that were made 30 years ago. And we're still making those difficult decisions, and thank God we have people that are smart enough and have good enough business minds to put these deals together to actually make them happen. I know Mayor Ransberg's here, and I got here a little late, so I didn't see any of the other mayors, but I'd like to pay significant thanks to the mayors that worked over the years, throughout the 30 years, because every different mayor had some type of a decision or some project during their course of their term that affected the success of the Civic Center. And so the council members and the mayors that were part of that are appreciated very much. And David, not only as mayor, but also the time that you spent as chairman over here really paid off dividends. And obviously we're lucky to have David steering things through down the museum block too. Not to switch off of the Civic Center, but Mimi and I got to see the museum last week, and I'm telling you, this did wonderful things. The museum did wonderful things for the city. The museum is going to change the whole ballpark. It's going to change the whole playing grounds of things in Central Illinois. So we look forward to it. Thanks for the opportunity to say a few words. Thanks to everybody in this room who at some point in time played a significant role in helping us be the Civic Center that we are today. A lot of people that talk about the Civic Center and if we needed it or not, or whether we should have this or not, my common answer to that is if you know what, or if you want to know what Peoria, downtown Peoria would look like if we didn't have the Civic Center, if the leaders did not have the Civic Center here, I'd say go down to nothing against Decatur, but go down to downtown Decatur, because that's what we'd look like right now. A lot of similarities with the industrial aspects and so on, but thank God that we had the Civic Center now and that we made the decision. John Blasick told me, because he worked here, or his family was working here when the first concert came. Senator Kaler's intro said the first act that was here was Kenny Rogers. John said the ticket price to see Kenny Rogers was $10. God, so we are getting old. Anyway, Jim, great leadership. A lot of good leaders have been in your shoes, and you've had big shoes to fill too. But this guy's doing an awesome job, and what an exciting time to be in Jim Weatherington's shoes, finally having a convention hotel to to really get maximum use out of the Civic Center. Everyone have a great evening. Congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. It is a very exciting time, and working with Don Welch, who's now the president and CEO of the Convention Visitors Bureau, it's kind of like getting the band back together. He and I worked together for a long time here, and he'd sell them, and I'd figure out what the heck he did to make it work. And now we're back again pushing some business, and it's very enjoyable to work with him again. So we're looking forward to a very bright future in the very near future. Thank you. We've got a short video for you. Folks, this isn't going to be long and drawn out, so don't worry. Short video that our friends from Pro Video Production, Frank Blaine, put together, so sit back and enjoy a few memories. Thank you.
Peoria Civic Center has done so much for the area in the way of tourism. It's a multifaceted facility with concerts, theater, symphony. Wicked was a very popular show this year.
On this Saturday evening in the midst of the holiday season, we welcome you to the heart of America. We're in the Civic Center in Peoria, Illinois. Good evening, everybody. I'm Vern Lundquist, along with Tracy Wilson. We welcome you as Olay presents Ice Wars.
Obviously, Caterpillar being here in Peoria as the worldwide headquarters does present some challenges for us. And attracting top-notch talent in a smaller rural community like this, we have to put our best foot forward when we bring our candidates in. And the Civic Center is a big help for us on that because it's a beautiful facility. They see that our town has a lot to offer.
One of the luxuries that I've had as being a promoter representing this market with the Peoria Civic Center is the variety of choices of venue type styles that the Civic Center offers.
Every time the auto show expanded is when the Civic Center expanded. So it's kind of funny walking into the Civic Center side A and looking down and you see A and C, and now you've got D, when originally we used just A. One of the neat things that I remember in terms of the events that we did is a boat show. And I remember being up in the cabin of the boat looking down over the Civic Center. At this point we're in A, B, and C. And this boat was a $1 million boat, and I'm looking down and I'm thinking, wow, what a neat place. And this is just after we did the expansion. And I tell you what, it's just the move-in and setup. We could not have gotten that boat in unless we'd gotten the new expanded door inside C.
Sun Foundation has participated with the Civic Center for some 20 years in an event that is the Clean Water Celebration. We have brought 40,000 students together with their teachers and families at the Civic Center. This is the facility that allows that because of its size, its adaptability.
My favorite moment as a grandparent must be when I brought my 2 granddaughters to the circus. I have never seen a little 4-year-old's eyes light up so big, so exciting when the elephants come in, and the fact that we have motorcycles flying through the arena, elephants, tigers, and lions and bears, oh my.
We have been coming to the Bradley games together since she was 1.5 weeks old. Her first game was in January of 1993. You know, so many people ask us about special moments. There are so many and to talk about, but probably the 3 primaries were obviously the Les and the Hawkins era. The second special moment, I think, just stands out in my mind, was in the 90s when we played Michigan, and Eric Roberson came over the top of tractor trailer on that monster dunk. And then, of course, Chris Roberts' final shot from 3/4, which he shot right in front of us, and that was just over the top.
In my first year here would have been our second regular season game. We hosted Illinois here in the Peoria Civic Center, and what a huge event that was for the city. And pregame luncheon that day in the exhibit hall, and then sold out arena with media from all over the state and region here for the game was certainly an exciting way to introduce me to Bradley basketball.
Tonight, we are going to see a basketball match at the Peoria Civic Center. As we get close, we hear a huge roaring sound. The inside of the house is as long as the walk between 2 villages. and is filled to the top with people shouting and clapping. If you become bored of the game, you can watch some happy young women doing tricks.
PNC is involved with the Peoria Civic Center in many ways. We utilize the meeting space upstairs on the 4th floor for employee events, as well as client events. We are involved and sponsor the Broadway Theater Series. Also, we are a huge sponsor of the Peoria Rivermen. But I would have to say that my favorite event that we have here would be our annual Bradley ISU client event that we have up in the ballroom, where we have about 300 of our clients there. We have a pre-game reception. Dave Snell comes and talks to our clients, and then they get to come down and enjoy the game.
Opening night against Loyola Chicago. Everybody got special tickets. Everybody wore tuxedos, or at least the coaching staff did, and a lot of the media people did.
A lot of great moments in this building, and for me, the one that was the most fun, I think, was the night of the East Coast Hockey League championship, the Kelly Cup team in '99-2000, winning the whole thing.
The championship game, 1985, Muskegon here. First Turner Cup championship. Place was jam-packed full. They sold standing room only.
I have been to the theater, seen Les Mis and Cats. Don't tell anybody.
Well, Les Mis is my favorite, and I would see it every night if I could. And I know Jersey Boys is coming.
One of the best events we've had since I've been here is the Gathering of the Juggalos, which was in 2002. It was a 3-day event here at the Civic Center, and they used all the 3 exhibit halls we had at the time. Our theater, they sprayed Faygo soda on the audience. They camped out, they stayed at hotels. It was a great community event. People were a little skeptical about it, but once they had come and had a good time, they want to have them back.
I remember bringing Kiss when, for one time with Elton John, backstage with Metallica, when the Eagles came, I remember that then there was Barry Manilow. Now I better keep my mouth shut.
I love there's a place that I can go and see a Broadway show, and I can go and see a hockey game or a basketball game, and it's all in one great facility.
My favorite moment at the Civic Center is watching the Bradley Braves win, of course.
I have seen Stumped. I've seen all of Tyler Perry's shows. They're awesome. I've enjoyed myself. I had so much fun. I'm excited to see Mary Poppins.
Well, I really like the fact that Peoria gets some Broadway run shows.
I heard the ad about the Jersey Boys at the Civic Center and was really excited. I saw the Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons back in 1970.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra concert, which we had a really good time.
I have tickets for Spamalot and Mary Poppins right now. We've seen others. We've seen Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis.
All the musicals, really fun.
I love the fact that you bring Broadway to Peoria. Thank you, guys.
Heading to the hockey games with our families and our families' friends, and
yeah,
it's tradition.
Yeah, like she said, tradition, a lot of fun.
Favorite moment at the Civic Center? That had to be in 2009 when my wife and I got married in the ballroom. They took really good care of us. It's the best place in town to go for a wedding.
The March Madness experience was always great, especially on the days where we had the handicapped kids come in on the Sunday and Tuesday between the A and AA. They were so into it, and they played like it was the World Series, and it was the Super Bowl, and it was the NBA Finals and the IHSA Finals combined.
I've worked at the Civic Center for 30 years. It's been a real great place to work, interesting, but fun. I remember when I first started working behind stage and getting to meet some of the stars. Another thing that I got to do that I probably couldn't have done anywhere else was the Pirates games. Had us ride our Harleys out onto the field pre-game, make all kinds of noise, and get the fans riled up.
One of the fun things I got to do was put together a group, and we backed up Barry Manilow. And also Josh Groban sang the national anthem with the Harlem Globetrotters. I mean, wow. What receptionist gets to do that?
On any given night, we could be doing a complete conglomerate of everything from Broadway to heavy metal, which brings a great diversity of people. And it's just a very neat place to work.
As I said earlier during the introduction, that we do have some past chairmen that are here this evening to talk a little bit about their experiences chairing this organization. When Deb Ritchell was putting this together, she told me, says, everybody's going to have 5 minutes. Look at this list, some people take more than 5 minutes to say their names, so it's going to be interesting. But anyway, our first speaker tonight to talk about his experience with the Civic Center is Dave Ransberg. Dave, please come.
I'm sorry, I've got a long name just like Silverthorne. Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the people that made this possible, whether it was our city council 35, 40 years ago, elected officials that created the laws for the state of Illinois that allowed us to do this. Also, I want to pay particular tribute to a guy that preceded me, Lou Berger. I don't know how many of you know Lou Berger or who he was. But Lou got very involved in getting this built, and to bring a big complex like this in on time, on budget, meant a lot of hard work and sacrifice and so on. Lou ended up being the chairman, I think the first operating chairman, I believe, and then got a terrible disease. I forget the name of it, but it didn't kill him, but it paralyzed him. He was not able, it was a nervous disease. And so I succeeded him. I was asked by then Mayor Jim Maloof to become chairman. At the time, we were losing about $750,000 a year, and I know to you, big spenders in the room, that doesn't seem like much money, but it was a lot of money back in the 80s. And about a third of it, $250,000, as much as we could tell, was from the hockey team. So as quickly as we could, we sold the hockey team to Bruce Sowers for, I think, $250,000. I think he sold a few years later for a couple $1 million, so our timing wasn't too good. But it was very clear at the start. Here's a facility with very high fixed costs. We have staff, we have utilities, we have insurance, we have all sorts of fixed costs that we were not going to be able to save our way into prosperity. We had to get more revenue. So we worked very hard at some things that would generate revenue. First thing we did was cleaned up the place. It was 6 or 8 years old. It looked like it was 30 years old. It was a wreck. It was dirty. People in the bathrooms had punched holes in the walls or written on the walls. It was awful. So we cleaned it up. And then we worked hard on generating revenue. Now, one of the things that was a problem, we had very poor numbers. So I was working, I remember, with Harold Hansen one Saturday. Harold Hansen was our general manager on putting together a budget, and we couldn't make any sense out of it. So we called Helen Gustafson, who was our auditor, Helen Barrick now. And she came in, she found in a very few minutes, our then controller had made a major adjustment, a book to audit adjustment, but just plugged one number, the net worth number. He didn't bother to plug all the expenses, so we couldn't make any sense out of it. So that was my first decision as chairman. We needed a new financial person, and we hired Don Welch, who at the time came and did a terrific job for us. Debbie reminded me that I said something like this. I may misquote you, Debbie, but it was like, you guys are doing a good job. Keep your heads down. I'll worry about the money, the financing, and the city council. We'll get it done. And they did. Wonderful staff, worked their tails off, and this thing is a credit to them. I'll tell you one more story. I ran for city council in 1993, and I was going door to door, and every once in a while I'd run into somebody that said, "Oh yeah, you're from that goddamn Civic Center." I said, I was against it. I never set foot in it. and I'd say, thank you, have a nice day, because I didn't think I could talk to an idiot. I bet you couldn't find many of those people now, because I don't think anybody in this region could imagine this community without the Civic Center. So here's to everybody that's made it a success, and I'm excited about the next 30 years. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Dave. Our next past chair, and is actually still on a committee that's helping us out here in finance, it's Dan Daly.
Well, Dave, I was not one of those idiots when you stopped by my house that didn't like the Civic Center. This is a tremendous facility, and it was interesting earlier this evening, the conversation about Kenny Rogers. I was here for the Kenny Rogers concert, and I didn't even know how much the concert cost because my father-in-law paid, so that was nice of him to do that. But my father-in-law, Jerry O'Neill, helped build this place, though, and I'm really proud of that, and certainly proud of the fact that Sherry's let me volunteer and contribute a lot of time to particularly important facilities like this Peoria Civic Center. I have the distinction of being the longest serving member of the Civic Center Authority. I was on for nearly 15 years. And the primary distinction of that is being on long enough in anything at one time is you get invited to be on more and more committees and boards, but the most important thing I got invited to join was the Old Farts Group organized by Ken Golden. So Ken, I really appreciate that. Thank you. You know, it was interesting when I was appointed to the Civic Center, at that time in '94, Leonard Eunice was on the city council, and Leonard actually was the one who replaced me when I went off 15 years later. And Leonard has a unique distinction. I've got a tremendous amount of respect for Leonard. Leonard was the only city council person that voted against me going on the Civic Center Authority, and so I tease Leonard about that, but he's a wonderful civil servant and a great volunteer and certainly a huge supporter of the Civic Center. But maybe he was smarter than most. This facility is amazing. I mean, it really is. And I've had the honor of working with a lot of great people, and particularly the management of the team that runs this organization. And it's tough. It's not easy. You've got several 100,000 people in the metropolitan area that are going to criticize whatever it is you do, and it's not easy. And certainly I think for authority members, it's important to remember that you're going to take challenges, but you're in a huge leadership role here, and it's important for the existing members of the authority to remember the history of this facility and how important it is to continue to invest in this facility. This is the leading entertainment operation we have in Central Illinois. This is an economic driver for this community, and it's so important that we continue what we're doing here. Again, I applaud what you're doing and the time you invest and how important this is. I did want to recognize a couple things before I get off the stage. Bob Gordon, who's not here this evening, unfortunately. Bob, you might capsulized as being maybe a little crusty. When I came onto the authority, I was seated next to Bob, and I got a real education. Bob was the real history of this place, and I alluded to that before, how important this is. Dave talked about it, how quickly an operation can get out of balance, and how quickly you can begin to lose money, and how quickly things can begin to deteriorate. And so you just have to keep that in mind. But I really compliment Bob. I learned a lot from him, and he really brought a lot of history to what I did. The other thing that was interesting is I was succeeded by the first woman to chair the Civic Center Authority. And I have to tell you, I didn't realize how little I knew until a woman took over as chair of the Civic Center Authority. Rebecca Borland, thank you. I appreciate that. And all the women, of course, are applauding. Thank you. But I also, as I stepped aside as chair, I had the great opportunity to work with Dan Silverthorne. We co-chaired the redevelopment of the Civic Center, and I'm really proud of what we've done. And when it's certainly a huge group we. There was so much planning involved with this, And certainly this ballroom we're in tonight is part of this. It's really a tremendous success, and we all share in that great pride for this. So again, congratulations to the Civic Center. 30 years are great. Let's do 30 more. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. And already mentioned, Rebecca Borland, past chairperson, and also serves on our Capital Committee as still active here. Rebecca?
Thank you. Well, we've been asked to say a few words about our time as chairman of the Peoria Civic Center Authority, but that's kind of hard to do because during my terms as member of the Peoria Civic Center Authority, it was a very collaborative experience. Although someone had to run the meeting and sign the papers, we didn't stand much on ceremony, and all achievements and responsibilities were shared to a greater extent and degree than any other body I've ever had the privilege to serve on. I was appointed to the authority as a non-voting member by Mayor Bud Greaves in 1997. At first I thought, non-voting? What's the point of that? As most of you know, I generally do have a position on things. But very quickly, I was grateful that I did not have to vote on the issues before the group without having any prior knowledge of them, because I stepped right into the Italian arena seat debacle. I spent the next 2 years in advanced learning mode. The Civic Center is a very complicated and encompassing institution, and the learning curve is very steep, or at least it was for me. When Mayor Ransburg appointed me to a voting position at that point, I did feel ready to participate in the decision-making process. It was very exciting to serve on the authority during the planning for the new addition, conducting market research to try to determine our future needs, interviewing architects, contractors, and construction managers, and meeting our wonderful friends at Turner, who really were such a partner in this project. Drawing up pro formas and budget projections and presentations before the City Council, all of these things meant that we often met several times a month during those years. It so happened that I ended up serving as chairman for the groundbreaking and topping off ceremonies, but that was just luck. It wasn't merit. The true drivers of the construction project were, and still are, lovingly known as the Dans, Daly and Silverthorne, whose dedication and expertise were invaluable, and the building really would not be what it is or come in the way it did without them. Everyone on the authority worked hard, but those two went above and beyond to make certain that the public investment was responsibly utilized. The highlights? Driving the end loader to break the ground. And I use the word driving very loosely, pity the poor young man who tried to teach me how to operate that thing. The low light, not achieving our goal of having additional high-end sleeping rooms ready for conventions at the time the addition was completed. I'm one of those who remember Peoria before the Civic Center. I went to ballroom dance class at the Jefferson Hotel. I had my senior pictures taken at Fabry Studios and went to movies with my boyfriends at the Rialto. Those were great times. But no single vision has had the impact on the Peoria area that the Civic Center has had. The leaders and philanthropists who planned and delivered it were ahead of their time to our great benefit. The use taxes dedicated to keep the facility strong have been a key to its success and maintenance. And as the heart of the building ages, these funds must be protected for the Civic Center's use. The Civic Center is much, much more than this building. Its mission goes outside the walls as a place for culture, convening, and community. The building itself reflects who we are. The theater, a special interest of mine, presents both local and national talent, and our public art on site celebrates our artistic community for all to see. Once you've served on the PCCA, you never enter the building again in quite the same way. You feel a sense of pride, of ownership, and of responsibility. You check to see if those rolls are warm. You know those little things, like how many doors there are, and how often the chillers require reinvestment. In 30 years, the Civic Center has become what it was meant to be, the center of the larger community, the place where things happen. the place where our heart and our soul are on public display. It's my privilege to be a part of this history. Thank you.
When we were talking about what we were going to talk about this evening, one of the things was talk about the new construction, but Dan and Rebecca said such a wonderful job. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but there's something that the two Dans did with the support of the commissioners that I thought was good. If you think about it, I have about 50 years construction experience, so I knew what the contractors were doing, and Dan's a banker and controlled the money. We had some stroke. You think about it, when we talk, people listen, and I really like that. But anyway, it was a great experience, and I think you all know how well it turned out. But one of the things we did do, I think that was very good, was we chose HOK as our architect, and a young designing architect by the name of Dave Manica was the design architect on this facility. He's gone on now to have his own business, and I believe designed some of the buildings in China for the Olympics and other things. So you can see his results. So that was a very smart remark. And also, we also had the ability to choose the construction manager. And we sort of lucked out, I think, and chose one of the best I've ever dealt with, and that's Turner. Jim Clare's here. Jim was the manager in that job. Stand up, Jim, and get some recognition for that. So anyway, we have one more person that has to do a presentation this evening, and that's Peter Corey. Please come up, Peter, and talk about your experiences as chair.
Thanks, Dan. No praise could be too high for the dance, let me tell you. I started my term in July of 2008, right when the construction was signed off. All the excitement was over, and the first words I said to the board were, "Welcome to the boring years." But it was anything but boring. At that same meeting, July of 2008, our Caterpillar representative, Dan Murphy, said there was an economic downturn coming to America. He gave a very impassioned speech and challenged the Civic Center. What would you do if the Civic Center business bottomed out? How would you deal with it? And our management firm, Debbie Ritchell, SMG, took the challenge. By July of 2009, we had cut the full-time staff by 15%. Every department was decreased from their budgets by 15%. We had Will look over all our systems to save money, and that was a successful program. Jim Weatherington and Sean Schoonover were elevated to the executive level because Debbie said their value to the Civic Center was extremely important, and so that was such a good move, and those employment levels are still there today. And the bottom did fall out in 2009. The meeting rooms remained empty. There was no business travel happening. Large concerts stopped. They were ignoring medium-sized cities like Peoria because of the cost. Mark and I used to have Broadway theater plays to go through, 2 giant books. Those disappeared. The plays were not touring nationally. We were able to get 2 plays and 1 musical that year. It was pretty scary. The Peoria Ballet cut their performances in half. The Peoria Civic Chorale went across the river, but this was a very good thing for the Civic Center. It freed up the Civic Center Theater for many, many weekends, and so Mark booked that theater with a vengeance. He had many comedians coming in, small concerts, kids shows, and it really paid off at Peoria's bottom line. And the heavy usage of the Civic Center Theater is still continuing today, so we're grateful for that. The most important person for me was Mayor Artis. From day one, I was communicating with him through his private email line. I just told him, you know, we'll do all the worrying for you. You just worry about the city. And I tried to make sure he knew everything that was going on. We made sure the city council got every single piece of paper that we had given to us at the meetings. And that relationship really paid off. And I thank you for your advice and your stewardship. Except when ACDC was trying to come here, your campaign really scared us for a while because we knew it depended on their travel schedule and the money, but it was okay. The Marriott Corporation relied on the Civic Center heavily too during that time. They needed reassurance that what they were going to do with the Pierre Marquette would work, and it did, and so we're happy they gave us the green light for that project. We had the Convention and Visitors Bureau during our 3 years. We had 3 different chairmen. That was rough. We relied on them to book our Civic Center. It just wasn't get done. We had to take some of our SMG employees and give them jobs that normally would have been done by the Convention and Visitors Bureau. But it's wonderful to have Don Welsh and his experience on track again. And we know that that's going to be a really good thing. I just had the best board during my 3 years. I never had to bring a joke to a meeting because Ken Golden would just enter the room and the laughs would begin. So thank you, Ken. We had Pat Raisler join us. Pat, you'll be seeing a lot more in the future, and we gave him the enthusiasm of what we felt and the pride. Lorraine Bryson, Leonard Eunice, and Dan Silverthorne were our bedrocks. They made sure everybody was grounded and, in Dan's case, well lubricated. And we started a citizen volunteer program, so Rebecca Borland and Dan Daly couldn't get away from our committees too easily. But all this credit really does go to the management staff at SMG. Debbie Ritchell is responsible for all these accomplishments. Our board always gave them the trust and respect that they deserved, and that paid off for the Civic Center in the end. So we really owe her a round of applause. Thank you, Debbie, for everything. Mark Burnett was my best high school friend and college roommate. We did everything together at the Civic Center, played off each other. Definitely going to miss him. And Dave Leach was telling me today was Bill O'Connell's funeral, and he played an awful important part in getting the Civic Center started, so he and I are going to work on getting that story out too. So can't wait to do that, Dave. So thank you so much.
To bring it to a conclusion, I think we need to brag a little bit about what's happened in the last couple of years. We're very, very fortunate to have SMG as our management corporation here, now with Jim Worthington taking the lead there, and also Centerplate, who manages all of our food services. Without those folks, we couldn't begin to do what we do here. I don't care how hard we work on this commission, how hard we work as volunteers. Without the leadership from them and the direction that they give us and that we give them and the way we work together, you couldn't begin to have what you have now. So it's very important that they get some recognition, and I think we should thank them for what they do. And with the hard work of them and our finance committee and others on our commission, we were able to negotiate a contract a year ago that will save $400,000 over 3 years. This was a very hard-driven bargaining process that we got done, but it was because of them we were able to do it. And also, we just presented to the council the end of our business year, the first profitable year we've had here since 2008, I believe, something like that. So I think that's phenomenal. They also passed with unanimous vote the new budget, and the new budget for 2013 also shows a problem. So we're on the right road. We're doing the right things. With the support of the mayor and the city council that we have now and the other folks in the community working with us, we can only get bigger and better. So thank you so much for being here and doing what you do for us. And I have 2 people I want to thank, and I'll get off the stage. First of all, Mayor Ransburg, who appointed me, and Mayor Artis, who reappointed me. Without the faith that you had in me, I would have never been able to stand here and talk about this facility. So thank you so much for your support.
Well, thank you all for your kind words. There's a lot of history that just left this stage, and it's wonderful to be part of it. Not only is the building 30 years old, but we have some employees that have been with us 30 years as well, too. We have 600 employees that work at the Peoria Civic Center. 47 of them are full-time staff. The rest are part-time. Some of the part-time work a few times a year. Some of the part-time work regularly. The economic impact to the community is just staggering. 4 of our 30-year employees are here tonight. I'd like to recognize them, gentlemen. If you'd give me a light on their table. Folks, please stand when I call your name and hold your applause. The two employees that are not here are Artis Wash, who is one of our security guards, and most of you will never see Artis. He's the third shift guard. He is the most delightful guy because he doesn't have to deal with too many people. But Artis was the guy I'd always see when I'd leave at 1 or 2 in the morning and I'd come back in at 7 or 7:30, and it just didn't seem right. A guy who works 8 hours and I see him on both ends, but I digress. The other is Nate White, who's one of our electricians, one of our union maintenance guys, another delightful gentleman in the industry, and he just is a jewel for us to have, and we're sorry they both can't be here. Would like to introduce Dave Underwood, who is one of our housekeeping custodians. Dave has been here for 30 years, and he's done lots of things, not just the housekeeping work. Judy Bill is our usher supervisor that has been here for many, many years. Mike Gasper, who is an usher slash t-shirt security guard, who not only does concert security for us for our concerts, but has started his own business, Blue Moon, I believe you call it, and he has worked with Jay and Jam and Jack Manis for many, many shows. Diane Whitaker from our box office, you'll see her smiling face. Every time you walk up, you've always got a smile and something nice to say. So thank all of you for 30 years of service to the Peoria Civic Center. Well, as Peter said, we did lose our dear friend Mark Burnett. He was the voice and the face of the Civic Center for over 12 years, and he will be greatly missed. His hard work and his strong relationship building that he did helped us to grow not only the events, but also the community awareness to what the Civic Center brings to Peoria. He did a great lineup for the theater this year. We said, Mark, go do it and go get him, and he went out to Broadway and he knocked on doors, and by gosh, he sure put together a heck of a season. It's going to be strong. It's going to be tough to replace Mark, and we miss him. The Boy Scouts have started a scholarship in his honor. If you'd like to make a memorial, I believe we have some paperwork on your way out that you can get. Bueno, Mark, we wish you were here. Thank you. You bet. And because I have the mic, I get to share a few of my favorite stories to kind of wrap us up tonight. I have seen so many interesting things, met so many wonderful people. We don't have clients, we make friends. The guys from the farm show are buddies of mine. The folks from the IMEA, the Illinois Music Educators, become friends. They move on and we still stay in contact. The closeness that you have with the people that come in to do business, they depend on you so much, it just creates a bond. The one thing when an event manager comes in new, we tell them that these people have been working 362 days for 3 days to make or break their living. And you have to be on point and you have to be on target for them every second that they're here, and the folks just do it day after day, and it's just amazing. So, when I was hired back in 1990, I was a city employee. In September of that year, SMG came in to take over management. They were known as Spectacor Management Group at the time. They do private management for public facilities. We have over 230 contracts throughout the world. It's pretty impressive business. It gives us a network to call on for anything. If we've got a theater question, if we've got a HR question, we can put out an email and get dozens of responses of people that have already done it. It's invaluable. They also help us book shows. Sean Schoonover and I are going to New York with Debbie Ritchell, since Mark isn't able to go, to open some doors to continue our long history with Broadway. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Debbie for all her work to put this party together in Mark's absence. Her help was invaluable, and thank you, Debbie, very much. Appreciate your help. So one of my faves was Bob Hope back in the mid-90s. He was 92 years young. You see him backstage, he kind of looked old and feeble and kind of bent over, and he had 2 handlers, and his wife was just hovering all over him. And he walked up and grabbed hold of the arm on the stage to the steps, and his opening music started. His back got straight, his head got up, his shoulders came back, and he almost hopped up those stairs at 92 years. I got goosebumps right now. It was just amazing to watch this guy perform. He was just something else. One of my other faves was Tony Bennett in the theater. Tony, halfway through his concert, said, wait a minute, laid his mic down. He goes, you have such a wonderful theater. can I do a song without the microphone? The acoustics in this place are marvelous. And it was just knockout. And he was such a gentleman. Of course, we did have the Insane Clown Posse. We can't go through an event without talking about our most successful monetary show we ever did. But wow, what an experience. Good job, Deb. The one night that really showed what this Civic Center is to Peoria was the night we had 4 events going simultaneously. In the arena, we had Ted Nugent and Bad Company, who were the house band for 4 or 5 years. And there was about 6,500 of your closest friends in black in there, drinking beer. And in the side C of the exhibit hall, we had the Tattoo Extravaganza, which was kind of a little convention of its own. Lots of people in full-body tattoos with Speedos. No kidding. In the theater was an urban show called All Our Young Black Men Are Dying and No One Seems to Care. And the urban folks were in their regalia and the hats and just having a ball. And in side C, to top it off, was a tribute dinner to Mayor Jim Maloof. So we had the Triangle Lobby was the center hub of everything, and more heads were turning and spinning, looking at things they'd never seen before. It really, really brought to mind to stand back and watch this, what this facility is. We entertain everybody. We are a civic center, and it's just a delight and a pleasure and an honor to work here. Thank you. So to close it out, we have tickets available for all of you to go to the event or events of your choice. We have a Dan Fogelberg tribute with a, I believe it's Peter, what's his name, closing it out? I forgot it, my bad. A folk song duet that's closing out the Dan Fogelberg tribute in the theater. Or you can go see the Roller Derby Dames in Hall A if you like, or you can go see both. There'll be tickets for you available as you go out. I want to thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll get back in another 10 years to celebrate 40 great years. Have a great evening. Thank you.